complained about growing up on the hill because I was jealous of all of our friends in Greenville, but I did love it. It was fun.
That's what they
You
said.
just had to
everybody
work a
talked
little
about.
harder to have fun.
Yeah.
Greenville.
I had to reach
right
out
next
because I
to,
wanted it just
3 Mile Ridge,
identical.
that
Otherwise,
brick
it's
house.
just too.
Having a pool
3
party
Mile Ridge
tonight,
is
huh?
a
Pool party at Kevin?
Yeah, it's pretty
So
much.
when I was a kid, 3 Mile Ridge was
Yeah.
I want to eat.
a guy called Elmer Meyer.
So you got that too.
All right, everybody, we'll call the June 16th, 2020 work session for 4:30 p.m. for the Redevelopment Commission to order. Ms. Brookbank, can we get a roll call?
Executive Director Brian Messmore.
Present.
Whoa. President Richard Richardson.
Present.
Vice President Lenny Fryman.
Present.
Secretary Kevin Schaefer.
Present.
Member April Fritsch.
Present.
Member Brian Johnson.
Present.
Lawrenceburg School Board Member Brian Jansen is absent, and City Attorney Del Weldon.
Here.
All right, we only have one order of business this evening, and that is to give our analysis of the two proposals we have for the senior building that we're putting up, the tax credit project. We had two presentations a few Mondays ago. One was from the Flaherty and Collins group. The other was from the model group. With the model group, that would be managed by ERS, Episcopal,
I think it's ESR.
ESR?
I think so.
My apologies, ESR. What does that stand for, Ms. Brookbank? Do you remember?
You're asking
Don't know.
Messmore.
Episcopal.
I don't have my paper with
Arm
me.
of service?
Episcopal.
Or maybe it is ERS.
ERS, Episcopal Retirement Services.
There you go.
Flaherty and Collins, of course, would manage the facility themselves if they were to get the go-ahead from us. I guess we can open it up, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Messmore, see if we have any questions that perhaps were not answered from the paperwork that we've received and from all the questions that we asked at the previous meeting.
I would, thank you. I would just remind the board that this is an application process. The application itself would be submitted in September, award probably near the end of the year. And as part of that application process prior to submittal, either one of these companies would have to complete a market study to verify and confirm that there is demand for this type of housing. And they would also have to do a phase 1 environmental site assessment. Although we have done that in the past, it is required during this application process to have those two things done by independent parties. So we have a long way to go, but I just want to remind the board that, you know, this is an application process, and we'll have an opportunity to play catch ball back and forth on lots of things through the process, including design, number of units, layout, you know, use of the property. So we'll have ample opportunity to make this project what we want it to be, and our participation will be the strength of the project. So I'm excited either way we go. So with that, I will open it up back to the chair, open up the board for comments.
Anybody have any comments they want to make before we move forward?
I went through, Kelly had done a nice comparison for everybody as far as between the two, and what I was looking at is pretty much the commitment either way is the same on the city, but the biggest substantial difference that I feel is definitely a factor for this area is the rents.
I noticed that as well.
The price of the rent versus our incomes. And the other thing that I felt during the presentations the other Monday evening was that it's ERS.
That's
ERS, that's their specialty. They obviously had a lot of guidelines, I guess, already in place as far as what they do with seniors, transportation, just different things. Where Flaherty, I'm not saying that they couldn't do it, but it's not their specialty. So that was the biggest differences that I took away from it.
Judging by the paperwork too, it seems the model group, the ERS, is going to be more cost effective for our residents as far as, you know, the pricing that
The
they
rent,
had
yeah,
set out.
yeah.
So Does anybody else have any comments, or I think it looks like a good plan.
I will just to add in, just to reiterate, regardless of the cost of the project, our contribution to score the most points is 10%. And that's a combination of land, cash, utilities, anything we can do, site work, any of those kinds of things that we can contribute. So to echo your point, that would be regardless. So whatever, once we're done with our design and we come up with a product, we will determine those costs, and that will, you know, we just need to remember that if we want to brick the whole thing, then we're going to pay, you know, for bricking.
Another thing with the ERS, just, you know, I know the rough plan, the sketch, it showed a lot more green space than the Flattery Collins, I thought.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, aesthetically, both buildings to me look like a Quality Inn. I mean, they looked a little bit nicer, but they look like a hotel.
Right. And I will reiterate that we will have the opportunity with either firm to sit down and say, okay, you know, do we want this building or do we want 2 3-story buildings? Obviously, if that increase the cost, but you know, we'll have an opportunity to discuss the use of that property, the shape of the property, the shape of the buildings, and where the green spaces are, how much green space.
This is just more for the application process.
Yes. Well, no, during the app, we will determine that prior to submittal.
We'll have what it's going to look like
We'll
before
have-
we have the submission.
It'll have a final
Yes.
design.
So Brian, today is really just about selecting the group.
Yes, we will have final design prior to submittal.
And submittal is when?
September 29th.
Oh, okay, so they've got some time.
Not much.
Well, but no, I'm
Yeah.
just meant as far as working
But
back
they
and
do
forth
this
on
a
the
lot,
design end
so-
of it.
So
Go ahead.
a couple things I liked about Flaherty. I hear your points on ERS, and I agree. The rent may be about $50 cheaper per unit. The resident services are nice. As far as Flaherty is concerned, they're for-profit. I think they flat out just have the ability to get the job done. With ERS, there are 3 different groups that have to all kind of work together and get it done with model, ERS, and then they actually have a tax credit buyer that is a third party involved in the process. I like that we have an established relationship with Flaherty. I feel like relationships go a long way. And then the other big piece is that they have 2-bedroom units in their proposal. I think that's going to be something that we want in the property.
I don't think that I would be interested in the 2-bedroom
I agree.
property myself, though.
As a senior, I mean, how many seniors need 2 bedrooms?
I know
About that today, I mean. we even know
55
husband
is
and
a
wife, how many
senior.
of them doesn't sleep together?
That makes me a senior.
Got
Husband and wives may
different
not
beds,
sleep
some of
together. They may have children that live out of town that want to come back and they don't want to get a hotel room. Maybe they have a grandchild that needs to move in with them
Right.
because heaven forbid something
Well, I don't
happened in
think
their
that- I don't
lives.
think that you can do that in a senior, a grandchild can live there. I think
No.
there's guidelines
Yeah.
as far as who can live in senior
But
housing.
you make your point with the visiting.
Yeah,
I mean, I do see
absolutely.
that,
Right,
yeah.
and maybe the child isn't necessarily moving in, but maybe it's a 3-4 week period or even a 3-4 months where
Well,
they
back
need
to
somewhere
the
to live.
design end of it, Brian,
I-
when you said that we would have the ability, obviously this is just simply for the submittal for the application, that we would have the opportunity to change, tweak, do whatever we want to do. And who's to say, I don't know, I'm just tossing this out there, that the model group couldn't include some 2 bedrooms. But as far as the rent difference, Kevin, if you look at the bottom, it's substantial. You're looking at $580 versus $800.
Yeah,
That's
the left side
$300
has
a month.
the left side has utilities included, the right side doesn't, and Flaherty and Collins was just using the maximum numbers allowed by the IRS. They weren't necessarily using numbers that they were going to charge.
Okay.
So when we asked the question at the last meeting, they kept referring
At the
to,
very max. They're a little below what the max is, because I went over it on the phone with them, but I asked how.
It's a little bit lower than what the max is.
Flaherty is a little bit lower. If you look at that chart that I gave you, they do come in a little lower than the max.
okay,
Not much, like for the one bedroom. So for example, on the 30% on the one bedroom, the max is 486, and they came in at 416. So they did come in a little lower.
and then
I
the
asked if they were-
416 includes utilities?
It says utility allowance.
Allowance, yeah.
It doesn't say that it includes all of them.
Well, the
It
right
does-
side does not include utilities.
Huh, right.
The right side
The right side
doesn't,
doesn't include the electric, right.
All right.
but the left side, I think, does.
It does. It includes the utility allowance, which isn't much. I thought it was on one of the emails that
That
I
brings-
attached on there. Yeah, on the Flaherty and Collin email that I put on there, it shows the allowance, like of what they think the amount would be. So it was like $70.
Okay,
But
that's the way I read
to your
it.
point on the two-bedroom, I called Model Group, and they did say that some of their obviously some of their buildings do have the two-bedroom, but this is just what they were presenting to us. So, I mean, obviously I think there would be that flexibility if we wanted to add that in. But I did ask them that because I was, obviously it's all one bedroom,
Yeah, and
which
even
made
if
sense
it's-
to me.
Even
but-
if it's just storage, even if you just have stuff that you want to keep in the spare bedroom, I would think there's some appeal to that.
Well, some of them may want it, but some of them, they can afford it, and other people can't.
Well,
I mean,
I just
yeah,
don't know if
and
you'd need
again,
24
when
two-bed.
we're looking at
4
design and
two-bedroom
number of
seems very
units, we can, they suggested 24. They suggested none. I mean, we could start at 12. I
Right.
mean, we can have that conversation
So that's
with
all
the
adjustable.
experts in the room.
Well, and I think the utilities are gonna be minimal too, because, they have to maintain the lead, when they're designed, they have to maintain all them lead certifications and, stuff like that for the energy efficiency. I don't think the utilities are gonna be that much.
the thing I liked about the model group, from what they were presenting to us the other day, they got a lot to offer for the seniors there on the premises. I think they said they had weight room for them. They had a nursing staff there and things. And Brian, didn't we talk to that Flaherty group?
We called them when you were in the office.
And I think some of that they was going to do part-time or something, but then they was talking like, way they was telling us, isn't it all this, everybody offers the same thing? Isn't that what he was kind of saying to us? But it wasn't the way he was presenting it to us.
Yeah, well, clearly, from the presentation standpoint, ERS represented a different level of care for the seniors. Remember, these are 55 and O's, these are not, they don't require, should not require
Not long-term
nursing
healthcare
staff
or
and things like that.
Shady Nook or.
It's it's a property manager who, takes care of the property and interacts with the residents, in a positive way. And not, the types of services that we provide to those seniors in that unit will be part of the operational expenses. And so we'll have to factor that in.
It just seemed to me that that ERS group was a little bit more geared towards the older, crowd and the they had more services. I'm not saying that Flattery couldn't, but it just seemed like DRS that's kind of their niche. That's the way I kind of gathered it.
Based on the presentation.
And yeah. And
So I'll just add one more piece, one thought that I had about the deal. With Flaherty hiring 2 of the employees that are deep in understanding of the process and how these tax credits are awarded, I feel strongly that they could get the job done. So is it a standardized process around the country, or is it a state process?
I don't know that I can answer that. I know there are federal tax credits, so I'm assuming it would be fairly standardized.
Okay.
But I couldn't really answer that.
Okay, and I think we asked the question, you know, how likely is it that they would win the award? And I think ERS said that they are awarded about 40 or 45% of the contracts that they go after, or the credits that they go after. So with that in mind, I just have a little more confidence in Flaherty in getting the job done, being awarded the
Get
credit.
through the process, like actually
Because if
getting
we
awarded.
don't get it, then we're here in a year
Right.
having the same conversation.
Was there, do you remember the points? Was it, I think they were only 1 point apart when they told us what they scored it out and ran all their numbers. Wasn't it 1? I wasn't for sure if that was the difference there.
I think they both independently scored it, and I think they both said it was.
I think it was
I
1
think
apart.
that Flaherty said that we were a little short on the points, and I think that the other model group, the ERS, I thought they said that we just got the cutoff from last year, what was awarded by like 2 or 3 points.
Right.
Where they kind of scored us.
Right.
I think, like I said, I like both companies, but in my opinion, I feel like we're going to get a better product with the model group as far as services, cost for our residents. And I'm not saying that Flaherty couldn't get it done. And I know, you know, just listening to you, Kevin, I mean, they did have a good presentation for getting the tax credits. But I just felt like the DRS was more geared toward the residents. And that's kind of where I'm at.
But I do like the one part where you was talking about the utilities was paid, and that's with Flaherty, and the other one, they have to pay it. How many people do you hear talk about their electric, especially the elderly and all that, especially when you get up in years, things go up higher, and but I'm like you, I like what ERS
Well, I mean,
had to offer
you
us.
look at, okay, so $800 to $900 down there for the Flaherty, and then $560 to $580, but that doesn't include utilities. But like I said, this is going to be a LEED certified building by either company, so the utilities are going to be, I think, very minimal.
And this also goes under, if we get, is it the points to where you get the 9%? There's a 9% and a 4%. And I'm not fully comprehending what they was telling. 4%, you're gonna have to pay more.
4%, we're gonna put more money into, so we're not even considering a 4% option. We're
These are
just doing the
both the
9%.
Yeah,
9%.
these are just, we're just
9%.
focusing on 9.
9% option.
The 9% is available one time a year, and the 4% is available all the time.
All the time.
Yeah,
And we gotta make sure that we score high enough to get the 9%.
right.
That's the goal, yeah. And again, it's going to be our ability to communicate what is important to us with whoever we select to get this done. So the things that we want to have or don't think we have, those are the things that, we're going to have to make sure we define with whoever we would choose. I think at the end of the day, the rents on the left are coming in at the high end of the spectrum. Probably, I would say when the project is done by either one of these parties, they're going to be relatively close in rent. So
you say them numbers could change?
yes.
I think they probably will change.
And I mean, even if we take that out of the equation, the rents, and say, that they do come up and they end up close to whatever, I would still have to say, I feel stronger just about the management end of it, the model group, as far as their background and their history in doing that. So, like I said, I guess I feel stronger about that than I do actually the rents.
For what they're offering for the seniors. That's kind of the way that I was leaning toward. It's more about them than it is what you can get the building for. It's what they offer. Our parents, we may be there, but we want something that's gonna take care of us, and we know they're gonna be took care of. That's what I'm looking
You
at.
hit from the gold
I need
tees.
I'm very needy, so I'm gonna need somebody to take care of me when I get older.
Remember, be
he's gonna
clear, and
design
I know
himself
we're
a
joking,
apartment.
but this
Oh,
is
yes.
55 and over. This is not a skilled, nursing facility. This is people who
Seniors.
can be working and have a,
Right.
I understand that, but they have got people there. I mean, you never know what can happen. Person have a heart attack or anything, but they got somebody, the way I understand it, Brian, they've had somebody on staff.
They were going to have two
Other
people
ones
there.
did, and
Low
it was
income
part-time.
housing.
Huh?
Call it what it is for 55 and over. On,
Sure.
subsidized incomes or, however you
Ye-
want to do it.
But on the high end, it's not really terribly low income. They could make $50,000 a year for 46.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So for a retired couple, they could have $1 million portfolio and show 40,000 a year in income.
That's where I want to live, Kevin.
Yeah, I want you to do my
The only
business.
source of income is Social Security, maybe a small pension in that case, and they just don't
Let's
have.
get a couple of penthouse corners.
Yeah.
Right.
And, for when
So-
we get older.
I just realized I'm 55 and over.
I just realized I am as well.
Can
You
I
look
hit,
it
can
though,
I hit from
Brian.
the gold tees yet, Lenny?
You're looking at though.
What's that?
He looks 55 and older.
Can I hit from the gold tees yet?
Yeah.
No,
probably.
not yet.
Okay,
No, you got a ways to go, buddy.
all right.
I'll be there this year though,
57,
July.
58 now.
So,
Anybody have any more comments about what we've got going on here? Kevin, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, that's it.
Anybody else? Well, I can tell you from a social work standpoint, I did that for about 3 years. You work with a lot of people that need that specialized help, people that know what they're doing. And for me, I like the model group and ERS coming together, building it, managing it, just for that aspect, that you'd have a certified activities director and the social worker there on site. I think that could be a tremendous help to the people there. So I do agree with that. But I did like Flaherty and Collins because they offered a lot of the experience. They've had their head in the game for a while. They not only work on projects like this, they work in the private market as well. So we've got two really good presentations from two really good groups of people. So we definitely want to thank both of the groups for that. So we thank you for coming here, presenting that for us. But now I think what we need to do is go ahead and cobble a motion out of what we've talked about. So does anybody feel comfortable putting a motion together to move forward?
I'd like to put a motion in to move forward with the model group.
So do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. So Brian, if you want to reach out to the parties,
Rock
let them
and
know
roll.
what has happened.
Yep.
We
Yeah,
can
you're
move
saying,
forward.
Brian, we can change what the model look like.
Yes, of course.
Kinda like
Yes.
them guys, that's kind of
Yeah,
all
if
looking.
yeah.
in the front. We want something to look good,
We're
especially
moving
sitting there
forward
looking
with
at
the group.
Lawrenceburg.
We can change the look of it aesthetically and
Right.
add 2-bedroom units,
Shape
whatever.
of it,
Yeah.
look of it, color of it, the faces.
So we got
Yes.
more work sessions coming up.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
That is,
It'll be fun.
we will probably look
Sounds
nothing
good.
like it.
All right, if there's nothing else tonight, I'll go ahead and accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.